Hi, everyone, and welcome to 2026. Mandy and I are going to go through each month, just kind of the bigger transits that are happening. Might pick out a few favorites and a few not so favorites, and we hope that you enjoy this. We'll still be doing our monthly deep dives into all of these, but we wanted to give you a little heads up of what's coming in to the new year. So, Mandy, welcome.
Hello, it's nice to be here in 2026. And I am uh excited,
Yeah,
sorta. Sorta. Okay, 2026, the year ahead. Let's see. We're in January. Woo, look at it. Lots of stuff. We just did our January monthly.
mm-hmm.
So that's gonna be available. And I think for me, some of the bigger stuff is like, for instance, Mars conjunct Pluto, all the Aquarius coming in is, probably the biggest one for me. We've got a month full of Kazemis, which
Mm-hmm.
is Mars, Venus, and Mercury conjoining the Sun. And then immediately after that, kinda toward the middle of the month, we have the new moon, and then it's all Aquarius after that, and then it's
Yeah.
Pluto. So that's just my quick overview. I think, for me, it's a wild, like, brave new world sort of
Mm-hmm.
beginning of the year. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think January feels very, but like norm core for January. It's like get all of your plans laid out. The first part of the month to me feels like a good time to just envision what you want the year to look like. Maybe go ahead and build some structure because there's going to be like real active. Just put your practice where put your practice in your hands and make something of it towards the end of the month. I feel like there's
Mm,
just gonna be a lot of more whirlwind activity. I feel like the year will start to really pick up and begin to run full steam ahead towards the end of January once we get into Aquarius. But for the first couple of weeks, while we have that Capricornian, steady, sure-footed energy, it's a good time to just plan ahead. But yeah,
yes.
the Kazimis are exciting to me, and that Mars Pluto moment with all the other stuff that's happening in Aquarius, I think will be pretty loud. So that's when it feels like the year really sets off a firework. You know.
It certainly does. It feels like fireworks toward the end of January. And we discussed a little bit, and you can go, check out the full January forecast, but a little bit of how Aquarius can be very collective, and it deals with technology and, things that are not typical. Aquarius is
Mm,
different no matter
mhm,
what. So when you have this much energy in Aquarius, and it's a lot if you look at the chart, it's like everything except
mm.
for Saturn and Neptune. Um, but speaking of Neptune, that's I think the other biggest transit happening
Yeah.
in January is on the 26th that enters Aries. So,
Yep.
January, get ready.
Hmm.
You have anything else to say about January, or should we move on to February?
Let's look at February. This is when it feels like the month or the year will kind of define itself. I think
Mhm.
because Neptune will have just moved into Aries and Saturn goes into Aries, it's like right on time for Valentine's Day. We've got that full moon in Leo to start off the month, just like we had a full moon in Cancer to start off January. Venus in Aquarius squares Uranus and Taurus, which won't be in Taurus for very much longer. That solar eclipse in the middle of the month. It's the first eclipse that we've
Mhm.
had in this Aquarius Leo axis that will the next couple of eclipses over the next couple of years are going to be kind of messy. It's like Venus Pisces,
Mhm.
Aquarius Leo, even Cancer Capricorn. They're gonna kind of like be all over the board, which will put eclipse energy into half of our charts, right? If we have three different axes, that's six signs, it's half of the zodiac.
Yep.
So this first one, it's the new moon, it's the lunar new year, it's the beginning of the fire horse year in Chinese astrology. So this is why I feel like it's going to be February is going to be when things really start to take off. Saturn will
Yeah, I
conjoin
agree.
Neptune in Aries too, so that's even more fiery. And then we've got that retrograde in Pisces, the beginning of the water retrogrades for the year, and then Mars square Uranus. So it's like that's like real spicy stuff happening. What are
Uh,
you looking forward to? What are you maybe putting a thumbs down?
I just wanna skip February. I kinda do. No, the full moon, I think kicking off the month, you're right, because it is the Chinese Lunar New Year. So it's February also has a ton of holidays all packed in together.
Mm,
So you've got Valentine's Day, you've got the Lunar New Year. Um, I'm sorry, the new moon on the 17th is Lunar New Year, which is also an eclipse. Valentine's Day, Mardi Gras is right there.
mhm,
That Tuesday is early this year, it's not in March. It's just kind of like that's what February feels like. All of these like disparate holidays are all packed in together.
mhm,
Then you've got the Saturn conjunction in Neptune, which has been talked about and talked about and talked about for a long time. I feel like astrologers may be almost putting, including myself, putting too much focus on it.
mm,
With regards to Neptune, Neptune is like you said, it diffuses, it dissolves. So
mhm.
with regard to anything conjoining Neptune, it's just gonna feel maybe confusing, I think, you know?
Yeah,
But in a fire sign like Aries, that's the only thing that quote unquote worries me. And then the 27th Mars square Uranus, I'm like, yeah, feels explosive. It really does. During a Mercury retrograde, you know, it feels confusing. Feels like whenever Jupiter was with Neptune and Pisces, that was
mm,
when the Russia invaded Ukraine.
mhm.
And I kept seeing fog of war everywhere, you know? So I
Yeah.
kinda getting similar vibes. I'm not saying a war is gonna start, but I mean, I mean,
But just even in
there.
like a like because Neptune is that it's an outer planet, so we usually experience it in a collective sense, right?
Mhm,
But Saturn, we do it's a little bit more visible. It is an outer planet, but it's visible to us. So there's a bit of personal connection to it. And so the phrase fog of war, I wonder if we can put that into our own personal lives. Like, is there some sort of personal battle that you're going to be contending with and there's confusion about it and you're just reacting to defend, which is kind of an Aries thing. Aries isn't about
mhm,
just fighting for fighting's sake. It's fighting to defend something. And so
mhm.
what are you defending? How are your defenses up? Are you just fighting because you feel like you're being attacked? I feel like that confusion can be personalized with Saturn Neptune. And so, yeah, just being careful to not just respond because of this overall sense of being a martyr, but being more disciplined. Saturn in Aries is not necessarily a disciplined place for Saturn to
Mm,
be. And so I think the tendency to be real quick handed to overreact could be amplified by having confusion around you. It's like
yeah,
like being in the middle of a foggy field and feeling like there's something circling around you and just poking at everything that comes near you. It's like it's not a really actually a great way to fight. So like just having to be a bit more strategic. And Mars and Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus, we've seen Mars Uranus squares be like literally violent, and what this does is it helps break us out of these fixed signs. So
mhm,
again, on a personal way, it's like how can you avoid things being built up so much where they have to come to a really violent head? You know, can you go ahead, can you foresee something building up in your Aquarius and your Taurus houses to then dissolve or dismantle them before they get unsustainably big and they have to be towered down, you know?
yep, I agree, and I mean, that's why with Mars Uranus, um, let me just say this, February is gonna connect to July in some way
Okay.
because Mars is going to conjoin Uranus, but
Mm, mhm.
it's in Gemini, I believe, but,
Yeah.
so this square is the closing square.
Mhm.
And I wonder, I should take a look really quickly at the the opposition. That was
In Scorpio, Mars and Scorpio? Or was
that's
it
right.
Mars and Sagittarius?
Mm,
Had Uranus left Gemini yet?
it was okay, it was oh right. It was November 4th and it was Mars and Sag opposite Uranus and
Okay.
Gemini. So I'm giving these dates because I feel like it's going to be um significant. So
Yeah.
June 15th is when it squared the opening square. Um and then of course the conjunction was July 15th, and that was of 2024.
Mhm.
So you had all these dates and it's coming back around July, it'll conjoin again. So it'll just be in a different sign. So I just wanted to say that because yes, it can be violent. I don't mess around with Mars and Uranus. I just don't on those
Yeah.
days. And I don't say that about very many planetary transits. I don't fear anything. I just stay very present and aware during a Mars
Well, I
Uranus
mean,
moment.
Uranus is all about the unexpected. And
Mhm.
so if you're like in an Acme cartoon, you're going to be looking up to see if a piano is about to fall on you, like maybe stay home. You know what I mean? So it's just
That's
being
right.
aware, being aware. But you could look at the Taurus house in your chart, the Aquarius house in your chart, and just like what is a tension that is building up and what can you do to just avoid it
Mhm.
or do your part to dismantle it so that it isn't so unsustainable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
You wanna take on March?
Sure. All right. So, of course, every single month is opening with a full moon, up till I want to say the middle of the year, which I think is really cool. But this one also happens to be a lunar eclipse in Virgo. So that one's going to be, it's just the second eclipse in this pair. So we have one in the middle of February and one to open March. Venus enters Aries on the 6th, which I think is significant because it's going to hit Saturn and Neptune.
Mhm.
Um, a Mercury Kazemi, trine Jupiter. Now, that's the Mercury retrograde. So it is retrograde in Pisces. And March is, well, you can tell it's packed. It's just packed. Um, but I think that adds the fact that Mercury is retrograde in Pisces adds to a little bit of that fogginess, you know.
Mm, mhm.
Um, Venus and Aries squares Jupiter. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that one, March
Yeah.
18th. And then a new moon in Pisces, which kind of it concludes eclipse season, but because the eclipses are in those weird switcheroo signs,
Mhm.
it's still kind of eclipsy. Um, but yeah, Mercury direct on the 20th. Really looking forward to that because Mercury's already um just kind of lost in Pisces, and retrograde is even more, I think, like, what are we doing here? You know?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the direct motion. Um, Mars is in Pisces at this point. It trines Jupiter. Not actually necessarily a good thing, because it just amplifies the Martian stuff. And
Mm.
it being in Pisces, Mars is not as quick to react in Pisces, I think. So I think this could also be it kind of feels like we're just circling in a whirlpool. It just feels like we're
Hmm.
going round and round and round in March. But then the sun conjoins Neptune and Saturn between those dates. I have it like that because Neptune and Saturn are so close together. So the
Yeah,
sun
yeah.
will hit Neptune, then it'll hit Saturn. Um, and then Saturn sextiles Pluto on the 28th. Really I'm excited about it.
Hmm.
I hope I don't eat my words. Sextiles are opportunity. Um, so wherever Aries and Aquarius are in your charts, there's a lot of, I think, opportunity to almost like pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
Well, I wonder if, like, at the end of February, there's that square between Mars and Aquarius and
Hmm.
Uranus and Taurus, and that, like, breaks something free that allows then for there to be some space in the Aquarius part of your chart that Saturn can come in and build something new or work something else out. It's like that
Yeah,
that breaking down to make space for something new. Um, yeah. Well, I mean,
that's exactly what I think.
Saturn's the ruler of Aquarius, so, like, there's some simpatico there, um,
Yeah.
with Saturn and, like, Pluto is in Saturn's home, so it's like, how can we build something kind of bold
Hmm.
and fierce, in a real empowered way? I like that
Hmm.
Mercury goes direct, the day that the sun goes into Aries. And I kind of like Mars and Pisces. I mean, Mars is the triplicity, a triplicity ruler for water signs. Mars is at home, and the other water sign is Scorpio. It's fallen in Cancer, but in Pisces, it's kind of like it's kind of an odd pair, but I don't dislike
Yeah.
it. So I look at that Mars and Pisces trine Jupiter and Cancer as like what support, that kind of benefic uncle support that the triplicity can bring. It's like what can happen here that maybe can generate some movement. Mercury's direct in that house now, so like Mars is going in to like maybe stir some good trouble up. I don't dislike that one.
Yeah, I don't necessarily dislike it. I think it's for me, with Neptune and Saturn and Aries, anything Mars does is suspicious to me.
Yeah,
It's
fair
just,
enough,
I'm
fair enough.
suspicious. But I do love that this is my favorite day, I think, of the month is when Venus enters Taurus on the 30th. That's going to be really nice. Venus is at home in Taurus. I think it brings some groundedness to our lives after all of the crazy Uranian and Aquarian and Piscean stuff.
Mhm.
Venus and Taurus is gonna be really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and
April.
that hosts the full moon in Libra. Even though Libra and Taurus can't see each other, they have that. There's a phrase for it that I can't find now, but it's basically just mutually assured destruction or whatever it is. It's like they
Yeah.
have lichen girding. That's what it's called. So it's like
Mm.
the moon exalts in Taurus. Venus is at home in Taurus, but also at home in Libra. So like there's like without sight, but there's some like you know that you've got you've got like a it's what is it you've got a phone call that you can make and someone's going to pick up the phone if you
Yeah.
need it, sort of a thing. So that full moon in Libra on the 2nd, I think, is pretty cool. And then Venus and Taurus will then square Pluto and Aquarius. They came together in Aquarius in January, and now this is this opening square while Mercury's trining Jupiter. So it's like bringing in some dynamic energy. But then the sun squaring Jupiter in Cancer. So the sun here kind of has the upper hand in a way because it's the position that it's in the sky. It has like the imposing square. The sun exalts in Aries and Jupiter exalts in Cancer. To me, this is a very dynamic day. I'm both excited and nervous to be like two prime fighters like coming head to head. Um,
Yeah.
but I think it'll be instigate good change, and they're both cardinal signs, so it's going to instigate some sort of a change. But this is the benefic of the solar sect, and then the solar luminary. So it's like they're on the same team, but there is going to be this dynamic square. Mars then goes into Aries, which it is at home there, and then the new moon in Aries. Like a week later, Mars and Mercury conjoin Saturn in Aries. And then the sun goes into Taurus to like kind of calm everybody the fuck down because all of that stuff is like a lot. Venus is with Uranus at that last degree of Taurus before Uranus goes into Gemini at the end of the month. I really like that. I think that's a nice little packing a goodie bag before it goes into some wild adventure for
Yeah.
Uranus, because it's not going to go back into Taurus for another 80 some odd years.
84 years. Yeah, 84.
But then the sun square Pluto, sun square Pluto, it is tricky, especially in fixed signs. So I like that
Yeah.
Venus conjoined Uranus is there at the anaretic degree of Taurus, but then the next day having the sun square Pluto is
Yeah.
a little spicier than maybe I would want it to be.
I know.
What's your favorite day of April?
Yeah, probably Venus Uranus. I really like Venus Uranus,
Yeah.
especially in Taurus. I'm not so sure about it in Gemini, but it's like always like maybe a surprise, a good
Mm,
one.
yeah.
So I do like that. And I would look at where it's at, where Taurus is in your chart for that.
Mhm.
It's in my 11th house. I hope I get famous. I don't know. It'd be great. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I think that's my favorite. Um, and I think Mars entering Aries, I think you might be right. Maybe I am missing out on how easy it's going to be in Pisces because once Mars enters Aries, it just kind of
Yeah.
blows everything out of the water.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah, it's funny because like when we did our January forecast, we talked about January 9th as being like the official first day of like the year when you really feel like you can like make a plan and implement it. And then exactly 3 months later, we have Mars going into Aries, and like yes, the Sun will be in Aries. But when Mars gets into Aries, that's when the party starts, you know? So like it feels like April 9th will be like when it really feels like Aries season. But
That's true.
I think that, Sun and Aries square Jupiter and Cancer, that one is like, that is like the most dramatic movie of April that I want to watch. That's just all I have to say.
Ah, okay. Yeah, we'll be looking at that, won't we? Won't we, everyone? Put it on your calendars. Now, this is, but I mean, other than July, which we'll look at in a minute, this one is also packed. I mean, of course, it opens with a full moon in Scorpio, and then Mars squares Jupiter. So maybe that's the second dramatic movie that we
Mm,
want to
that's
watch
that's part
because
two.
as part two, yeah, that's the sequel. May 4th. And may the 4th be with you for real on this
Hmm.
day because you're gonna need it. It can be explosive, it can be just extra Mars. Jupiter and
Hmm.
Cancer is no matter how it touches Mars, it spans it. So
Yeah.
um it's almost like getting mad at someone because they're so jolly. Like, that's what
Yeah.
I imagine Mars is doing with
Yeah.
Jupiter. Like, "Why are you laughing? Quit laughing,"
Hmm.
that kind of a thing. And then there's the Mercury Kazemi in Taurus. Really excited about that one. Mars and the Moon and Chiron in Aries, I guess,
Same
must
day.
all
Wow.
conjoin. Same day. So I think Mars, Moon, Chiron is very much a, a sensitive point, as opportunity for healing, though, especially with the Mercury Kazemi at the same time. Then we have the new moon in Taurus.
Love
Happens
it.
every May.
Love it.
Mercury enters Gemini. That's going to be really cool because Uranus is now in Gemini. So, like this is when we all get our at-home robots to do our laundry, I hope. And it conjoins Uranus on the 18th. Venus enters Cancer on the 19th, and that's going to be bueno. I love that.
Hmm.
Because it's gonna head straight for Jupiter, and we need to soak this up. I think this part of the year is really, like, especially as we get into the middle of May when Venus enters Cancer, we really need to just kind of enjoy what we get from Venus and Jupiter there.
Yeah.
Sun entering Gemini and also hitting Uranus, so this is also, like, wanna say, shocking, but, like, there's, like, little blips of surprises throughout May with Mercury hitting Uranus and then the Sun hitting Uranus. Maybe ideas, maybe, news that you didn't expect, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mars in Taurus square Pluto in Aquarius. Oh, that one's gonna be a struggle.
Yeah, that's going to be similar to the Sun in Taurus scoring
Mhm,
Pluto in the month before, but Mars is exiled in Taurus, so Mars is not happy. And so
mhm,
I think it could be a repeat of whatever was brought in, but maybe in a messier way, like more
mhm.
like butthurt way, basically.
Right, when was the Sun? Let's see, the Sun square Pluto is
Yeah,
April
like a month
25th.
yeah, a month prior.
Yeah. So then Mars does it. Oh yeah, it's exactly a month. So yeah, that's the one thing I would definitely like note about this month. I think probably Mars square Jupiter is a little kind of bothersome. But then Mars square Pluto is also going to be a little bothersome. So I would even say so the very end of the month, the 25th and 28th, Venus square Saturn, that's
Mm,
not going to be fun either. I mean, usually Venus in Cancer wants to feel comfortable, and Saturn in Aries is like, nine,
mhm.
you must get up and work, or something like that, So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make German people sound mean, but
But you kind of do. I mean, just as like I've been to Germany. I love German people, but like your cadence is like intimidating. That's that's true.
Ah, so yeah, that's kind of the feeling of Venus square Saturn, I think.
Mm,
Luckily, it doesn't last super long. And then the full moon in Sagittarius ends the month. So I love that we have 2 full moons in the month of May,
Mhm.
sandwiched in. So I think my favorite is Venus in Cancer, except for when
Same.
it squares Saturn.
Same. I love Venus and Cancer. I am a Venus and Cancer native, and I just absolutely love Venus and Cancer. But the new moon in Taurus, I think it's funny that there's the month of May, which is mostly Taurus season. There is some Gemini in there, but the
Mhm.
moon exalts in Taurus, and for the month of May, we have like the bookends of full moons, and then like a nice like fat little new moon right there in the middle of the month. I think it's just
I
cute. It's a
love it.
very lunar month for the month of May. So
It really is. It really is. And I really, as far as what I would say is probably the least favorite, I'm gonna go with Mars square Jupiter. I'm just not looking forward to that one
yeah, I'm looking at
so much.
Mars square Pluto.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm, I may.
I have Mars conjoined Jupiter, and so like I think I'm familiar with Mars Jupiter
Yeah,
together. Conjoining is different than squaring. I mean,
that's
to
true
be
too.
honest, but like that the Mars Jupiter, it's kind of like I feel like that's manageable. Mars square Pluto is just like messy. It just has a
Mhm.
messy. Um,
It is.
it's like you're one time I made soup and you're supposed to put it in the blender to like smooth it out, and I didn't have the top on right, and so it was like the heat and the pressure, it made this like moosewood carrot soup just explode all over the wall. That's like how I imagine Mars square Pluto. It's just a
Oh.
big pain in the A. So June, we have Venus conjoined Jupiter and Cancer. We have the second one for this Jupiter transit. Jupiter takes about 12 years to go through all the signs. So it spends about 1 year in each sign. And we had the conjunction together in August 20 of 25. And now we have a second one, the very end degrees of Cancer. But I like this Venus conjoined Jupiter and Cancer. That's definitely my favorite. The new
Mhm.
moon right there in the middle of the month. This is the first month that we haven't begun the month with a new moon because the full moon in Sagittarius was at the very end of May. So this is
Mhm.
starting to kind of like get us on a new track. Just that alone, I
Flips the
think
script.
is kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Venus in Leo, opposite Pluto and Aquarius. It's a very dynamic dance that they make. Chiron then goes into Taurus. It's been in Aries for a very long time. And Uranus squares the nodes. So Uranus is in Gemini, so it'll be squaring the nodes in Pisces, Virgo. Then the sun gets into Cancer on the summer solstice. Venus and Leo trines Saturn and Aries. I like this a lot because Jupiter is going to go into Leo at the end of the month. And so we're having these like more fiery benefics come in and engage with Neptune and Saturn that are in Aries. Mars goes into Gemini, which is always just this really easy, fun party, right, Mandy?
Mhm. Oh,
When Mars is in Gemini, it is
yeah.
just such a delight.
So much fun.
Yes, no drama, zero drama with Mars and Gemini. Just, oh, Lord, bless
I
us.
know.
Mercury
So
retrograde
trickstery.
and a full moon in Capricorn, like that is like June starts to be the preamble for July. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of like clown energy that I'm getting from June, mostly once like that Venus and Leo trine Saturn and Aries, Mars going into Gemini and Jupiter going into Leo. It's like Leo and Gemini, I love the connection that those two signs have together. They're always the most fun together. It's like the friends in the
Oh, I
friend
know.
group that have Leo Gemini, they giggle, they are mischievous together, they play, they feed off of each other. They I love to witness Gemini Leo friendships. I just think that is such a fun dynamic. And like Mars and Jupiter going into those signs really kind
Yeah.
of like stir in the pot to make it more entertaining for all of us. But in case you
Mhm.
could not hear the sarcasm in my voice, Mars in Gemini is not an easy trek. It is usually a bit dramatic, a bit gossipy, a bit troublesome, a bit trickstery. And so
Yeah.
I think that's why it's going to be the preamble for July, which is going to be like probably the craziest month of all of 2026.
Yeah. I was just looking to the last time Chiron was in entered Taurus was in the mid 70s, which I find really significant, and then 1927. So we had 1926 and 27, and then 1976 and 77 is the ingress, you know.
Mm.
So now we've got it again, and Taurus is just Chiron spends a long time in Aries because it moves
Mhm.
because of its orbit. And I think Taurus too. I think it spends the least time in Gemini. Um, if I'm maybe mistaken, but it's
Is your Chiron
around
in
that.
Taurus?
Mine's in Gemini.
Yours in Gemini, okay. Mine's in
Hmm.
Taurus, yeah.
So you're about to have your Chiron return.
Woot
Um,
woot.
I mean, those are honestly, if you have Chiron and Taurus and you're going to have your Chiron return soon, it is when I see people bloom and blossom in ways that I just think is so beautiful. And it's usually
Mm,
around when you turn 50. But it's just a beautiful thing. But I can't help but think about Taurus and what it represents, and it's like our food and our and the earth and our comforts and things like in the mid 70s when gas, all
mhm.
that gas stuff happened and then in the late 20s it's like, okay,
Yeah,
well, we know what was going on there. Um so it's just, to me, it's very notable when Chiron changes signs. So I'm kind
yes.
of interested to see anything happening around that. Beyond that though, I think Jupiter and Leo is going to be fun. I really do.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Alright,
Then,
you got
oh
July.
goodness, I got okay. Mars conjunction to Uranus and Gemini on the 4th of July, and it's trine Pluto.
Let's just end the recording there. Mic drop.
I know, right? It feels
So when
oh,
was it
okay.
October, November, we recorded
November.
kind of like, "Oh, this is when they're gonna get together. Like, when are they gonna be conjoined?" And you could see, like, in real time, we, like, saw this date, and it was just kind of like the blood fell from our face.
Oh, it's just we were together the last time Mars and Uranus conjoined, and there was an attempt. It was Butler, Pennsylvania. I'll just say that. Um, I just don't even want to talk about it because it
Yeah, it
was
was a
just
violent attack on
yeah,
somebody of prominence in our nation, and it was, like, real astrology in the time, and, like, being physically in Mandy's home when that happened, because like, it's bad etiquette to immediately astrologize moments, I think, publicly,
it
but
is.
it's what we do internally, like, I got electrocuted, and I'm first thing I did before I, like, went to tell my husband was I, like, screenshot the chart of the moment because it's like, that's just how our brains work, right? And so when we see like this coming up again of Mars conjoining Uranus and Gemini, because you and I had that shared experience of astrologizing a really like loud, visibly observable moment
Mhm.
that had political and social implications, we're looking at this and being like, we know how powerful this moment can be. So
Yeah.
um, just we're in the states, and this is the 250th anniversary of our country's founding.
Yep.
It's born out of a very violent revolution, and so we have violence baked into our birth chart. And so the
That's right.
tendency of violence of Americans is just high. We are a violent country.
Mhm.
We are comfortable with violence, whether we like it or not. Like, we have so much gun violence. We are just violent with each other. When I go to other
Mhm.
countries, that's usually what people ask me about is about violence and guns. And it's
Mhm.
just part of, but we internalize it so much that we forget how violent we are. And
Right.
so the propensity for violence is just always there. And so I see this and I immediately get protective because I see this as a possibility of an already violent nation being that much more violent. And because it's the anniversary, it could just be that there is a massive amount of fireworks gone off. And it's just like our nervous systems are shot from hearing
Yeah.
so many fireworks and just
Could be
having
that simple.
so much explosions around us that that sound is like internalized in at least in the States because it's the 250th anniversary of the country. I mean, that's like a big marked year, you know?
Uh-huh.
May it just
Yeah.
be that, just like an excessive amount of fireworks for the 4th.
Yes. Yeah, and the trine to Pluto and Aquarius too. It's like you said, it's baked into our birth chart. We have Mars in Uranus and we have Gemini and Uranus as a country.
Mhm.
I mean, Uranus and Gemini. My
Same.
brain is not
Yeah.
even working. Yeah. Um, but the trine to Pluto and Aquarius, for me is it has to implicate collective, just more collective than we can probably even imagine right now.
Yeah.
So I am looking at that as it could even be technology. I mean, that's pretty well associated with Gemini and Aquarius. So both air
Mhm.
signs. Be communication, like maybe we learn how to do telepathy. That'd be great. We pretty much already do. It's called texting. Like that's bizarre to me. But this date is so significant, and I, for one, will be trying to run away from it as much as I can. I'm gonna be in my house. I'm not gonna do fireworks. I'm not gonna go. Like that's also the World Cup is that day.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, and my friend said someone that she knows is going to the World Cup, and I was like, couldn't be me. You wouldn't find me in a crowd, no way. And I'm not saying anything bad's gonna happen. I have to use astrology the best way I know how, and
Mhm.
this to me is like don't if you have the ability to not be in a position to let something be around you that is dangerous, then it's probably a good thing to do.
Yeah,
And
'cause
also
the
yeah,
sun applying to a square to Saturn during that time, because it will perfect on the 6th, like, you've also got that energy happening.
yeah. And it's in Cancer, and the United States is a Cancer sun. So
Mhm.
Saturn is square our sun
Mhm.
at the same time as and so when I think of that, it's all so closely related to the United States chart that
Mm.
for me, that's why I'm, like, reading it that way, I think, where I'm just like, crowds are not gonna be my thing, no thanks." I don't and it
Yeah,
could
I
be
think
the
that's good advice. Is like be
yeah,
wary around crowds of people
yeah,
because if something happens, it's harder to corral a massive amount of people. And like it's like the World Cup's happening then. Like I could see that being a really surprising World Cup. Like
yeah,
maybe a country that has never made it to the playoffs before, or whatever their version of it is, ends up winning the World Cup. Like I could see it being competitive with that Mars, surprising with that Uranus,
mhm,
and maybe the trine to Pluto is like collectively we're all like cheering for the underdog or the unexpected winner. I mean, it could also
yeah,
just be that. Like sometimes I think that the actions that we do on Earth kind of like um fulfill the promise of a transit, and if it's channeled through something that's collectively like a World Cup is like all these nations competing with soccer, football, whatever you call it,
mhm.
like competing with each other, and like made that be the expression and the fulfillment of the requirements that Mars conjoining Uranus to be. Like to me, like that's like the best option there is like it's a World Cup transit.
Oh, listen to this, I just had to look it up because I was like, just it runs for the World Cup dates run from June 11th through July 19th, and there's a big one on the 4th, I can't remember where. But there's already cultural and political tension around it because Iran,
Hmm.
is trying to block a pride-themed match of the World Cup. Pride, like,
Hmm.
so they're trying to block it right now, and they're already like, so there's already stuff
Yeah.
about that. And there's fan backlash, there's ticketing, backlash already, and especially with people from all over the world coming into the United States when immigration is such a big deal right now,
Mm-hmm.
also really stands out to me. So it's like, how are you gonna how is the United States gonna handle that when we're trying to basically discourage traveling here? So
Yeah.
it's just bizarre. And then Neptune goes retrograde on the 7th. Um, Venus enters Virgo on the 9th. Mercury Kazemi in Cancer. And Venus and Virgo square Uranus. Okay. See, there's just a lot of squares also in July. It's just like Venus and Virgo wants things to be really neat, tidy, and perfect. And Uranus and Gemini is a bull in a china shop,
Mhm.
so that's pretty much the energy there. The new moon in Cancer on July 14th.
That's like the
Uran
calm in the middle of all of it.
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
You know?
Be quiet, and everyone's gonna be, like, in their little crab holes,
Yeah, the Mercury Kazemi and then the new moon, like because Mercury, the moon, and the sun will all be kind of like hovering around. And then, even Venus and Virgo, it'll be that early degree because Uranus is at early degree. So it'll be sextile that Mercury and new moon. Like I think that middle of the month has some sweetness to it with all like the crazy making on the edges with the outer planets.
Mhm, I agree. Look, I talk about Neptune retrograde once, and I go foggy. Ridiculous. I don't know why it does that to me. Okay. So then Uranus and Gemini trines Pluto and Aquarius. Again, those are both outer planets, collective in nature. The trine here, just I'm hoping for like a cure to cancer or something with
Hmm.
this. Um, it's really unpredictable. It's hard to pin down what it could be, but I think information technology discoveries is a pretty good bet for that.
'Cause a couple of days later,
Jupiter,
with Jupiter opposing Pluto, it means
yeah,
it'll be in a sextile to Uranus. So there is
yeah,
that Jupiterian. It's like Jupiter is applying to the opposition and the sextile to both of those. So
yeah.
I kinda like that.
I do too. I mean, it could also very well be protests too. Like, there's lots of connotations for these outer planets, and um, I just hope, especially with Jupiter and Leo, it brings some lightheartedness to it, and it's not so serious.
Yeah.
So, and then the Sun enters Leo. That's my dad's birthday,
Aw.
the 22nd. Mercury goes direct in Cancer. Thank goodness, that'll be nice. Saturn goes retrograde, and then the sun opposes Pluto on the 26th. Now, Saturn retrograde, I'm kind of looking forward to. Like, I want to
Mm.
see what it feels like in Aries without going back into Pisces.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
um,
'Cause it's
not to
gonna,
mention,
like you said, it's gonna move pretty quickly, and so that
hmm
slowing down is gonna bring it to a more Saturnian pace. I like
yeah,
when Saturn's retrograde like 5 months out of the year, so
hmm
it feels like it's always kind of Saturn slows things down, you know?
hmm
If you have Saturn in the first house, often things like come to you later. It just slows things down. It has a more pace of longevity. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Of just like slowing it down to kind of see what it actually feels like being in Aries.
yeah, and it goes retrograde at the 14th degree
Mm,
of Aries, so it moves extremely fast.
yeah.
Um, And then we've got Venus and Virgo square Mars and Gemini. That the Venus Mars squares happen fairly often.
Hmm.
This one will probably just be kind of like the Venus square to Uranus, I think. It's going to be
Mm,
similar because they're both in Gemini. And then my favorite, the Jupiter
same.
Kazemi and the full moon in Aquarius. Now I want to look at that chart. I know we haven't looked at charts, but it just looks so cool. Like,
It's like
I
the
have to look at
prize
it.
we get from surviving July.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
Let's see, share. I wanna look at it because look at this, like, all these sextiles and trines and everything with this Kazemi. It's just so cool. So
Yes,
this is the
everything
actual
is
full
really
moon moment.
spread. It's like all spread out.
Yeah, and it kinda looks like my chart. My chart's like that. So it's like, you get a little bit of everything?
Mhm. And
Um
the nodes are just barely hanging on in that mutable axis, like they're about to go into. I think it's in August when they go into Aquarius Leo, right?
Mhm. Yep. So this moment is probably my maybe one of my favorite of the year
Mhm.
because, I mean, I don't always feel like Pluto is the doom and gloom that some people make it out to be. I think it can be good, it can be empowering, and this does feel like it could be an empowering moment.
I
Um,
could totally see this as being a big protest.
I could too. I could too, and it does feel like a
Or
super
just
empowering.
demonstration, not necessarily protesting against something, but
Right.
demonstrating the power of the people, which is Moon Pluto.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just had to take a look at that.
yeah.
Alright.
Okay,
August.
August, Venus goes home to Libra. She's at home in Taurus. That she'll be in, was it like end of March and through April? She'll be in Taurus, and then she goes out of when she leaves Virgo, because she's fallen in Virgo, going from a fallen place to at home place is kind of a nice thing for for Venus to do. So August 6th, she'll be in Libra, but then Mars goes into a fallen place. So Venus is kind of empowered, and we've had some Venus Mars squares, and so when they contend, they're kind of like squaring off. But Venus becomes very she has access to her tools in Libra. Mars does not have access to its tools in Cancer. So if we think about, we like when the benefics are able to express themselves and the malefics aren't. So just that basic delineation alone, I kind of like when Mars is in Libra or when Mars is in Cancer, because it's not abilitied so much. Sometimes it can lash out is the other side effect. And we have experienced Mars retrograde in Cancer in 2024, 2025. I'm glad that that's over. The new moon solar eclipse, this is with the South Node in Leo. This is the first time we've had it, an in sign eclipse, because the eclipse that happened in February was an out of sign eclipse. The nodes were still in Pisces with the new moon in Aquarius. This is now fully with the nodes in Aquarius and Leo. So I like this date. I'm I'm really curious about how the eclipse story will be expressed through here.
Mhm.
Mercury will then be with Jupiter in Leo, a few days after this. Then Venus in Libra will oppose Saturn in Aries. That will be, um, that's going to be an interesting one because Saturn exalts in Libra and Saturn has fallen in Aries. So it's like Venus feels very powerful here in this
Mhm.
position. Then the sun goes into Virgo. This is the vernal equinox. So this is when the light begins to really to begin to descend. It's not the vernal equinox. That's in Libra. When the
Yeah.
sun goes into Virgo, it begins the descent. Really, we start to see the variation of light. When
Mhm.
it goes into Libra, that's when the wheel actually begins to turn. Mercury Kazemi and Virgo will square Uranus. Again, this square between Uranus and the things that are going through Virgo, like with Venus and
Mhm.
now this Mercury Kazemi. Um, I think that's usually like a discovery moment anyway.
Mhm.
So I kind of like that one of like what's going to be revealed, that illumination and that surprise of Uranus can bring that. And then the lunar eclipse in Pisces will square Uranus and Gemini, and then finally, Jupiter and Leo trining Saturn and Aries, kind of bringing in that fiery element for August. So it has a bit more. There's a bit more like royalty about August for some reason. It's like things are really coming into their power, and there's like good challenges. It's like
Mm.
fights worth having. It feels like in August, as opposed to just like no rules for July. August just
Yeah,
has a bit more of a seriousness that I enjoy. I'm looking forward to August.
I am too. And I like the Mercury Kazemi. The reason I put Yod there is because it is quincunx or in conjunct, whatever you want to say, Pluto and Neptune. It's
Mm,
happening at 4 degrees of Virgo. So Pluto and Neptune are sextile, and a Yod is known as the finger of God, and it's the finger of God is pointing at 4 degrees of Virgo, the
mm.
Yod. So
And the
I'm
Kazemi's happening there. That's amazing.
Yep, it is. It's really cool. And in fact, like I'll just pop it up here really quick so you can see what I'm talking about. The green lines. Green lines are the in conjunct, and there's the Kazemi, and there's the Yod. So I just like that. I thought that was significant. And it might be my favorite moment. I know that the Kazemi square Uranus, but the Kazemi in Virgo is powerful. It's
Hmm.
almost like putting Uranus in its place a little bit. Like, hey, you're in my house. Quit
Mm,
acting up.
hmm.
So I like that. And I love Jupiter trine Saturn. I love that. I
Yeah.
mean, let's also just note that Jupiter in Leo is going to head toward the South Node, which I have natally. So,
Yeah, there's something about that. So Leo is ruled by the sun. The sun
mhm,
exalts in Aries. Saturn and Jupiter are the sect of the sun. So it's like a very loud, expressive, forceful. It's just like a really, it's like a take seriously sort of moment. But
mhm,
it's a trine. So it's like what kind of movement can we make?
yeah,
Um, I'm already starting to lose my voice. We've been talking for so long. So
we have.
I think after July it starts to kind of descend. So I think that we can go through the
Yep,
rest of the year without as much drama. I mean,
quickly.
there's going to be plenty of fiery activity.
Yeah, yeah, but
September's you, right?
yeah.
Or yeah,
And
yeah.
September is like, it's obviously less busy. There's less transits, Mars and Cancer square Saturn and Aries. Not super excited about that. That one's
No.
gonna be a rough one, and that starts the month of September. Wake me up when September ends or whatever. Uh, kind of like that kind of a thing. But it's pretty fast. Venus enters Scorpio like that. But Venus square Pluto is another one of those
Hmm.
kind of it can be a struggle, a struggle for power. Um, New moon in Virgo. This is not an eclipse yet, right? No.
No,
Is
it's
it?
not.
No, it's not. That's right,
It's the
because
first one that's not.
that's not. Yeah, so that's significant. And then the vernal equinox on the 23rd, the sun enters Libra. Full moon in Aries, that's a kite.
Hmm.
Really excited about that one. I like that. Kites are good energy. Everything's flowing really well together. And then Mars enters Leo on September 28th, which means it's heading for Jupiter and the South Node.
Can we stick on September for a second? So, like,
Yeah.
just looking at Venus go. So Mars is fallen in Cancer. Saturn is fallen in Aries. Venus is exiled in Scorpio. Like, all of that is like it's like having to work really hard to like
Yeah.
problem solve. Like I don't imagine that the first part of September is going to be easy. I could even see it being like difficult for like school, like starting a new school and just like really having some like growing pains. So if you can like give yourself grace for yourself and other people, especially in September, because I think it's just going to be like tough. I just think it's like
Hmm.
it's going to be when a planet is not at home or fallen, it has to work so hard to just get the basic stuff done. So it's like
Yeah.
like your daughter is going to be starting school. Like if she moves to some place, using her as an example, not that this is going to happen to her, but like a new student going into a school, it's like your roommate is crappy. You have to like
Hmm.
change dorms or like you get into an apartment and like you can't get your water turned on. It's like having to just like go through the basic stuff of like go to the bookstore and like all of your textbooks are out of stock. It's just like all this stuff having to work very hard to just get the basics done. But then when the moon goes into Virgo, it's the first Virgo moon where it's not attached to an eclipse. So it feels cleaner. It feels
Right.
like, okay, now things can start to like generate. And then the sun goes into Libra, which is the equinox. And then we have that full moon in Aries. And then Mars goes into Leo. It's just like feels like the second half of the month, you start to get some momentum. But the first half does feel a little just exhaustive.
Yeah. I completely agree. Um, so yeah, wake me up when September ends. Okay. Mhm. October
So
is kind of busy.
yeah, yeah. So October we have Venus retrograde in Scorpio. So maybe that whatever trouble is happening in the first of October is kind of still you're revisiting it, and the first of September is now being revisited in October. Mars opposite Pluto, Mars and Leo opposite Pluto and Aquarius, that's pretty loud. So the opposition is the nature of Saturn, so it's the most powerful of all the aspects. And so Mars and Leo is loud and dramatic, and Pluto and Aquarius is kind of dramatic too. So I'm looking at that date as being one to that might highlight on my calendar. And then the Sun in Libra, Sun is fallen in Libra, and Saturn is fallen in Aries. So you again have these kind of wounded fighters that are squaring up to each other. That's the next day. So both the first couple of days of October are a little tough. But then Mercury conjoins Venus in Scorpio. Then we have a new moon in Libra. Then Pluto goes direct. So whatever challenge it's been having by these oppositions of things going through Leo, now it has like a little bit of movement towards the middle of the month. Mars will then trine Saturn again. So it's like that malefic trine in a fiery place with Pluto direct in Aquarius. It leads me back to the summertime when we were talking about demonstrations or protests. Like maybe there's more momentum in this area. There's like a little bit more fiery momentum. Um, the Venus square Pluto, and then the Sun going into Scorpio. Uh, I don't know, that one is a little, that one's a little tense and dark and maybe a little sexy to me.
Yeah.
I'm interested about that one. I don't think it's subjectively bad. I think it's Pluto will be direct and Venus will be retrograde. So it's like it has like um this rough edge to it that I think is a little intriguing. Then the Venus Kazemi, and then Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. We have that Mercury retrograde in a water sign, and then Venus retrograding into Libra, back into home where she's a bit more comfortable. So it has like this kind of playing a record backwards, surreal tone to it.
Yeah.
But then that full moon in Taurus square Pluto and Aquarius, like that's the one that I'm like, ouch. Like
Yeah.
I that's my least favorite of
I
all
think
of
so
them.
too. I think so too. It's gonna be a weird Halloween. I know that.
Mm,
Like, that's
mhm.
what it feels. Venus retrograde anyway is, the descent of Inanna. It's like we are kinda losing that bright star for a minute,
Yeah,
and Scorpio is such a the modern ruler of Scorpio is Pluto, if you use modern rulers, so you have all of these, like you said, it's like, it's yeah, a record backwards is a really good way to put it, like
yeah.
carnival
It
music or
feels
something.
surreal. Yeah, calliope music. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it really does. So,
David
um,
Lynch. It has a very David Lynch feel.
yes,
Maybe a David Lynch
absolutely.
marathon through October to help distract you from all like the weird sordid stuff that is kind of flowing through your news feed and your neighborhood and your like your
Yeah.
journals, whatever. It's like a David Lynch filter. There are
Mercury
things that you can get that they're clear stickers and you can put them on your window and it says directed by David Lynch. So you can look out your window and it just like the whole scene is like directed by David Lynch. That's kind of what I'm
oh my gosh. I'm gonna put a sticker on my webcam that says that, so
yeah, or
definitely.
just like on your dashboard in your car. So as you're like driving around, like it's directed by David Lynch.
Ah, I love that. And also Mercury retrograde that we just had, in November, I guess, it retrograded Sagittarius into Scorpio, and that's when
Hmm.
the Epstein files thing was a big deal
Oh yeah.
so I wonder if there might be some resonance with the Epstein stuff around this time.
Yeah, especially with the touch points to Pluto because Pluto is power. It's like hidden power and hidden wealth. And so, like the Venus Pluto touch points, it speaks to subjugation of women and power over women, and then the power that women inherently have themselves and unearthing that, and the retrograde back to revealing that, and all of that. I wonder if it's going to be stories like that are going to continue to come up. I hope that there's justice before October 26th, but
Yeah,
it probably not. I don't expect
probably
that
not.
there will be.
Exactly. And then, we've got November. That's starts off with a Mercury Kazemi in Scorpio, and I'm looking forward to that because I'm a Scorpio and it's my birthday month. The new moon in Scorpio is on the ninth. Uh, and again, I mean, you're talking about a new moon with Venus retrograde, so I think it's probably going to connect to the Venus retrograde in some way. And then Mercury is also retrograde. So we've got Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde, but on the 13th, they both go direct. And
Yeah.
I love that. At the same time, both Venus and Mercury go direct.
That's similar to, so in spring of 25, they did that in Pisces.
Yep.
It was like Venus and Mercury kind of did that, and then they both moved together. But that was like Pisces to Aries, and now we have it the opposite in
Mhm.
Libra. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of sexy, there's the 16th Mars conjoins Jupiter in Leo. So yes, it can always amplify the Martian desire for violence, but hopefully It's more like Martian desire for sexy time
Yes.
because
Mhm.
this is, my mind is going into the gutter. That's okay. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's a time people are probably gonna be having lots of fun and, stuff like that. Sun in Scorpio square Mars and Jupiter in Leo is a no-go for me. I'm thumbs downing that. Not fun.
Like, "Can I
Um,
remove from doc this date?"
exactly. We're gonna strike that from the record.
Mhm.
Um, so that one also has potential for, I would just say darkness. I mean,
Mm,
it can feel very, dark because the sun is, ruled by or is the ruler of Leo.
mhm.
So you're taking that and you're squaring off the sun and Scorpio squaring off to its home sign with Mars and Jupiter there. It's just
Yeah.
causing trouble, you know? The sun enters Sag on the 22nd. I'll be happy about that. Full moon in Gemini, which should be okay with Mercury direct. I'm not too like concerned about that. It's not near Uranus or anything. So Mars enters Virgo on the 25th, and the sun opposes Uranus. Maybe it is. I guess it is with Uranus then. The full moon has to be closer to it. If the
Yeah,
sun,
it must be.
yeah, let
Yeah.
me look really quick, because that changes it a little bit, just a little. There it is. Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. So the full moon in Gemini is at 2 degrees. Uranus is at 3 degrees. So I was wrong.
And then Mars goes
Um,
into early Virgo, so yeah.
yeah. Yep. And that could be, I mean, that's really the only really bad everything else is sextile and trine at this point. So it could just be new ideas, shocking information. We did just come through a Venus retrograde
Yeah,
and a Mercury
and a Mercury
retrograde.
retrograde, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that this could be some news that we didn't expect or something. Um and then the sun in Sagittarius trines Saturn on the 30th. So
And I like that,
um
just, like, all that mutable stuff isn't affected by the eclipse energy anymore. So it's like,
mm,
it's just true and honest and clear and just deal with it and go on, and there's no, like, mystery to solve or nuance to dissect. It's just,
yeah.
like, straight up, like, "You gotta deal with this, make this change, deal with this revelation, put this plan into action," and, like, the eclipse stuff is over there in the fixed axis now, so
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
refreshing.
exactly.
But it's not gonna be simple or uncomplicated,
Yeah.
it's Mars and the Sun and Uranus in mutable
Uh-huh.
signs, so
Oh no. That's kind of what I might call this one of the more shocking
yeah,
full moons of the year.
yeah,
Just like surprising, don't know what to expect. Oh, and it's what? Thanksgiving? Yeah.
mhm,
So right around there. Lots of family talk around that time, probably. I do like the Sunshine Saturn. I think that's gonna be nice, and I think probably my favorite, though, is the Mercury Kazemi because
mm.
it's always my favorite.
Well, and the Sun
Um,
trining Saturn, so go down to December, so there will be Saturn will go direct or is retrograde? The Saturn Oh, yeah, so Saturn will go direct in on the 10th because that's when the
mm,
sun trines Saturn, it's always a clue that it's either gonna go retrograde or direct. It's like this kind of little mark because it can only go so far before it goes direct or retrograde. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, so December, the end of the year, we have Venus going into Scorpio again. It's refreshed, it's renewed. It's, not at home, but at least it's moving fast. And then Mars and Virgo will square Uranus and Gemini officially. As soon as Mars goes into Virgo, it's going to be applying to that square around that full moon at the end of November. So we're going to have this energy perfect there on
yeah,
the 4th. Then Mercury goes into the funniest place in the universe, which is Sagittarius on the 6th. Um, we are recording this on December 31st, 2025, and Mercury is at the anaretic degree of Sagittarius, and I'm already mourning it. I just love Mercury and Sag.
yeah,
Um, then on December 9th, we have the new moon in Sag with the Venus and Scorpio square Pluto and Aquarius. That's pretty cool. I like Venus Pluto touch points just for the dynamism that they can bring. Then Saturn and Neptune that are both in Aries, stationing direct within a couple of days, which is pretty cool.
Mhm.
Jupiter will be retrograde in Leo, another fire sign. So we've got all the fires really kind of activated here. Mercury going into fire sign, the new moon in a fire sign, Saturn and Neptune retrograde or direct in a fire sign, and then Jupiter going retrograde in a fire sign. Then the sun in Sagittarius, trining Jupiter in Leo. But then the sun going into Capricorn and then the full moon in Cancer. Full moon in Cancer on Christmas Eve is so sweet and sentimental,
It is.
just so big, so extra.
Mm.
I would recommend if you wanted to travel in 26 for the holidays, don't just stay home. You're going to want to be home on Christmas Eve with that full moon in Cancer. So,
Mhm, and, Uranus in Gemini is making travel just really strange. When it was in Gemini in 2025, we had a lot of stuff with airplanes go on, and I think that's probably I'm probably gonna be car traveling for a little bit. I like how I said "turn," not trying.
the little Irish
But
sun, Sagittarius turn.
turn Jupiter and Leo.
I wonder that
Um,
with like the Uranus Pluto stuff happening, like, are we going to like make teleportation a real thing? You know, maybe that's the way you can like at least like project a 3D holographic image to your family and not have to like travel
that
for Christmas Eve.
that literally is what I'm thinking. I mean, I do think we're about to enter a time in our lives that we've never experienced before, and I mean, you could say that about every year, but this is uniquely a year that I think is going to change a lot of people's lives in fundamental ways, kinda like 2020.
Yeah,
Um,
agree.
and it's hard to look at this year in full and not think that and not feel that. And I think so, you know, with the ending of this year, and because we're gonna wrap this up shortly, I'm gonna say I think my favorite month might be June.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a Venus-Jupiter conjunction. There is some Pluto and Uranus stuff, but the Sun's in Cancer, Venus trine Saturn,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah, I
and
think
Jupiter in
Gemini
June.
season might be my favorite because there's some good stuff in May and there's some good stuff in June. And I like um I I think that like spring to early summer for the northern hemisphere and might be my favorite time.
Yeah,
July is going to be the wildest, I think.
I think so too.
But August, I think, is going to be like we're going to go through some wild stuff. August, there's like this seriousness and the somberness and this like leveling up about August that I can't quite put into words. But I am appreciative of August already, and I don't know. Maybe when we get closer, when we record in July about
Yeah,
August, we'll have a better idea of what's happening. But I'm you know Gemini season and then the month of August are the ones that are kind of standing out to me.
yeah. Special mention to March, which also feels pretty crazy. Um, I say March might be, in the running behind July for craziness.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that we have a Mercury retrograde, Venus conjunct Saturn, there's Venus square Jupiter, although I think that's gonna be okay. And you have the eclipses. So, yeah, I think March and July are probably the ones I'm eyeing like, "Ugh," but May and June look fun, and I agree with you about August. It feels, um, yeah, serious, grounded, not looking forward to September at all. Probably.
Which sucks because the United Astrology Conference is happening in September and you and I are going to be there. So,
Mhm,
we'll be there for that Venus going into Scorpio and the Uranus retrograde. Like we'll be there kind of during that time.
mhm.
I think that it'll be for like loud moments like that. Like I was at your house for that other astrology good moment. So to be in a conference with a bunch of other astrologers, talking about these things, it might be interesting, to like
Yeah,
experience collectively and talk about it. So if you're interested to come to Chicago in September, there's going to be a gazillion astrologers talking about all sorts of things. And yeah, it'd be fun for you to come say hi in person.
Yeah, we would love it. And I can't wait to get back to our monthlies and then think about this forecast and think
Yeah.
about how crazy it's like, oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy 2026.
Yeah. I'm Mandy with Ecstatic Astrology. Thank you, Krista.
I'm Krista, Practical Astros. Thanks, Mandy. And may the winds of fortune be ever at your back, y'all.
Yes. All right. Y'all have a good one. We'll catch you soon.